Hello there and welcome to the first of the Make It Monday with Tina shows. They're going to be popped onto YouTube so that you can have a look at them at any time, and also our other social media. So I am working with lots of brilliant stuff from the craft store, and the first thing that I'm going to show you and talk about is the different kind of panels, because I don't know about you at home. I do like to use a sewing machine sometimes, but I'm not a big sewing machine user, but I love fabric and I love the different panels that we can get. So I'm going to show you some ways of using those panels on your mixed media, and also just for some actual sewing as well. Why not? So the panel that I've got that I'm going to use today is this panel, and then I'll show you the project I've put mine on. So this panel is absolutely gorgeous, and it's by Leo of London. So you've probably seen lots of Leo of London's work. It's by the fabulous Lewis, and I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do so much with it. Okay, so that's available on the craft store if it's something that you like, along with lots and lots of other different things. So that's one of the panel pieces, and I saw that and I thought, oh yes, it would make a beautiful bag. It would make, you know, beautiful book cover using my sewing machine, but I haven't got enough room for my sewing machine all the time, so I'm going to do something like this. So I've turned it and used different things into a memory box. Now I've used threads. So this is a thing that I'm really big on at the moment, using all the different threads. I've embroidered the jacket of this lady here using shading. So I'm going to show you how to shade using your thread. I call it painting with thread because, you know, that's how I feel that it is. We've then got some fabric that's been hardened. We've then got some fabric that we've coloured on. Okay, and then I've used different embellishments, some of the vintage ones, and then I've gone around the edge of the box and I'm using decoupage in order to do that, and then lots of buttons and all sorts. So let's put that to side and then let's start on with our sewing. Okay, so bringing in one of my pieces. Now if you are going to sew on there, just a little bit of advice there. I would be careful with how much you cut the fabric down, because you want to be able to pop it into a hoop if you can. All right, so I've got a couple of my needles sewed up, so I'm just going to explain a little bit to you. First of all, if I bring that panel back in and show you where this gentleman is on here. Okay, so there he is. So I've decided this time to go for some colours. So you can see by looking at his jacket that he's got different shading. So all I've done is I've decided on blue, and then I've picked out different shades of blue to show my shading, to show some highlights, to go to the direction of the actual coat. You don't have to embroider it all, and in this case we won't be, because I'm just going to show you a little bit. But I just wanted to go through using the actual fabric to shade with, and using the cotton to shade with. Okay, so here we are. I've got a single strand of thread. I have been using these beautiful threads. They're 6-stranded, and I tend, when I'm colouring with thread, I tend to use one strand, but it's up to you, it's entirely up to you. So threaded up a single strand. Now I'm looking here because I've got my darker shade, and then I've got a medium shade, and now I'm going to the lighter shade of blue. So I'm just going to go through the fabric, and I'm imagining, if I'm wearing a waistcoat, that the actual fabric fibres go in a direction. So I'm using my thread, and all I'm doing is using long stitch and short stitch, so it's just straight stitches. And I'm popping this where I think the highlighted bits are. So you would cover all of your different pieces of the fabric just by having a look at your highlight and your, where your shading is, and then just following that really. So you can see that I didn't need colour underneath to make a piece that was going to have shadows and highlights. And I'm going into the direction, so I'm imagining that it's coming round his body, so I'm curving a little bit there just so that makes the edge of the waistcoat sort of pop a little bit more, if you like. So just go in here. So where I've got this type of shade, I'm going to imagine that that is where my lowest light of my blue is going to go. Okay, so just add in stitches, and if you put a stitch in the wrong place and you think, oh, it's not like one that's, you know, anybody's going to sort of come back to you and say, oh, that's wrong, because one, you can leave it, two, you can go over it. It really doesn't matter, so don't worry about it. Just get some of the shades in different directions, but have the bulk of your flow going in the direction that you want it to go in. Okay, there. So I'm not worried about what the back's like either, so I'm just going to thread that through and then snip my thread off. There. Okay. And now I've got my lighter colour. So this time I'm mixing threads as well. So this is from this thread comb, and it's a single one. So it's quite satiny actually, which is lovely. So I'm just going to make sure that I pop a knot in the back, just like that, and then up through here. So I'm going to go down to this part here because I've shaded most of it, and I'm going to start to do, this is my most highlighted piece, so you can just go and highlight these different areas here. So this is where his coat is joining the other side of the waistcoat. So I'm just going to pop in some highlights just here. Just like that. So it's really good. So now I've got this piece of fabric here, this fabric panel, that I've literally made my own now. And it's absolutely like so addictive. Once you start doing this, it's just so addictive and so relaxing. Okay, so there we go. So I can then cast off my thread through the back and snip those off. There we go. Okay, so that is now as far as I'm going to take this piece. Let's pop my hoop. You can use any size hoop, but the smaller that you use, the more taut it will keep the piece that you're doing. So if you're doing a piece that's big, then that's probably the nicest size, which I think is about 5 inch. Okay, so then taking my fabric scissors, I'm just going to cut this out. Don't you just love that sound? Okay, and then through here. I'm not worried about it being too straight. It depends what type of project you're going to do. Because I've already done the box, I'm probably going to do a project that's flatter this time. So it's just really to show you the techniques and how you can build and use your fabric panel. Okay, there we go. So that's our sewed piece. So let me pop that to one side. I'm now going to bring in, so if I bring the box back in, I've done my sewed piece there, and now I'm going to use the hardener, the fabric hardener. Now I like this because you can just choose whatever piece that you want to do, and what I tend to do, let's grab that part, is, actually not that one, let's go with that one, like that. Let's take our hardener. Now I'm using golden. So the golden hardener is really good. It really does make it quite stiff once it's done. So into here, and it's white, so don't be frightened of that, and give a nice amount. Okay. Just taking a brush, let it all soak in. Now I would normally just really soak that in using my hands, but I'm going to try and keep as clean as I can here. Okay. So turn that over And then make sure the back is all lovely and soaked in as well. So you've really got a nice amount on there that can soak. So then I'm just going to use the bottle, because what I want to do is, if you shape it now, then that's where it's going to stay in. So I'm going to kind of leave it like that, and I'm going to pop that to one side and let that do its thing, and that's how it's going to harden. So keep an eye on the part that you want to see, the faces, that will dry clear and harden. So if I bring in this one, as you can see, still lightweight, but it's hard, really quite hard. And what you can do with that is you can actually put some waxes and everything over it. So let's pop that one to one side. And now I'm going to do some fabric painting. Okay, so I've got some Viva fabric paints, and I've also got a Dylon fabric paint. So let's grab one of my panels. Now the panel that I did with the paint, I actually put round a little spool, so it was just something different. Okay, but you can do whatever you like, and you can add as much colour as you want, as little colour, entirely up to you. So let's turn this lady's dress a little bit pink, shall we? Okay, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of this onto my mat. It's a new one. Let's grab that. Right there. Okay, so less is more when it comes to fabric paints. I'm just going to pop that there like that. I'm going to wet my brush slightly, and I'm going to give that just a little bit of a flow. And then I'm taking another brush, and I'm just going to wipe over the dress, just like that. Just to give it a little bit of dampness onto the dress. Okay, just so this is going to flow. You can see from the back that it's a little bit damp. There. Now I'm going to test. Now you can test onto another piece as well, but what I like about fabric painting is I don't want it to be completely in the right place. I like it to just blend and do its own thing. So I'm going to start where I think the darkest part would be, and I'm going to dab on just a little bit of the fabric paint, because then what happens is the water that I've popped on there already will start to spread. So just going to brush it down, just like that. It's lovely and bright. There we go, just like that. And then she could have a nice pink flower there in her hat. So all I'm doing is I'm giving a suggestion of the actual colour. And then let's have a look at this Dylon one. Oh, that's lovely. It's a nice bronzy colour there. Bronzy gold colour. So let's just bring in, I'm just going to bring in perhaps a little bit, let's try a little bit on his hat. Let me just wet that first. So it flows. I think I've got a bit of blue in my water. That doesn't matter. There, it's bronzy just there. Now I can tell from this one that this is going to sit more where you pop it. And the other one is going to do the spreading, which I like. So I'm just going to take and highlight the bows as well, just here like that. So as I say, you could also, apart from fabric paints, you can also use your acrylic paints. I've used the indigo blue before, and that's worked really, really well. I think it was the indigo blue that I used on that box, so yeah, that works really, really well. And then as we've got the blue sitting there as well, we might as well use a little bit of blue. So let's take a little bit of water. I'm just going to pop that onto the umbrella there. A little bit of water to make that more of a flow. You could use your mediums as well, your flow mediums. That would work really well. Now you see how this is taking it just like that. That's what I love. I love it spreading out, because what you're doing is you're making your undertones and your highlights just by doing one stroke. So I wouldn't have to really do anything else to that, because the further out it goes, the lighter it's going to become. So I'm happy with that actually. I'm just probably going to pop a little, maybe a little bow tie just as a, there. Okay. So that is your painting. Okay, so the last technique that I wanted to show you with the box would be using the fabric panels as decoupage sheets. Okay, so I'll just clear this up so that we've got a nice clean space. Okay, let's pop these back on. And then once we've done the decoupage, I can show you how I would lay it up. Okay, so let's grab the lid of this box. Okay, if you want to, you can put some gesso over the top of that. That would, you know, help to seal it. But I'm going to go straight in, and I'm going to use my mixed media glue. Now this mixed media glue is another one that's dried clear. It's a Stamperia one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat the top of my box with this. There's lots of different glues out there, and perhaps we'll do a Monday where we're talking about different glues and where to use them, because I think that's probably helpful to people, because it can get a little bit confusing. But my way that I've learned how to use different things is just to try them. If they don't work, you don't use that again. Okay, so here is one of our little panel pieces. So I'm going to coat the back just in the mixed media glue. This dries clear. Have a cloth with you just so that you can get your mat nice and wiped afterwards. And then I'm going to pop it onto here and then get my glue and do another layer over the top. So that's now going to seal this in, just like that, and around the edge, because what I love about these is it's a bit like using a thicker rice paper, because you can pop them over the edge and then just press them down and they will stay there, because you've got, you know, the lightness of the fabric. So if you're somebody that loves to do some really mixed media vintage things, this is a fabulous, fabulous technique for you, with so many gorgeous different images. Let's pick out another little one here. They can be layered as well, so you can pop as many on as you want to and get that layering going, just like that. Let's not go over that little girl's head, and pop that just there. I love the fraying as well, because that shows me that it is fabric. It's not a printed paper, it's a fabric, because of those. I mean, a lot of the time we draw in different stitch marks and frayed marks, don't we? So it's really nice to have this already there. Okay, if you don't use so much glue, it will still stick, but it may lift up. That may be the technique that you want. So, you know, just have a little play and see what you've got going on there. And then also I just wanted to show you that I'm going to cut her down a little bit, but you can cut around the images as well. So that's really, really good. It gives you so many options. You can keep them together. You could make something as a gift and then make a fabric gift bag to pop it in, couldn't you, using this? Just all from like the one panel, I'm sure. And then that can just go there and layer in. But what a lovely memory box, or for somebody's wedding, or, you know, just as a beautiful mixed media vintage box. Okay, So that is the different techniques that I wanted to show you. What I'm going to do now is just show you a smaller version on a flat surface of how I popped all my different things together there on that box. So let's just rub over just to give us a little bit of a clean surface going on there. Now I'm going to bring in some material. So on the craft store we have so many different materials. We're really lucky to have all of these different suppliers that that give us so many beautiful materials. So I'm just going to cut a piece. I'm not worried about it being too even at the edges. It's just to show you how I'm going to layer the different effects up. Okay. So just cutting myself a piece, a square there. Put that to one side. There we go. So I'm now going to bring in some different things. So on the craft store there's the lovely supplier that gives us all these different vintage materials, and I just love using different things together. So it's a mixture of different materials that I've had in the past and a mixture of the different vintage pieces that I've picked up here. So I want that to be kind of not straight, just a random type of piece there. And I can sort of fray it as well, which I love. I love doing that, just to add some effects. And all we're going to do is we're going to start to layer different pieces, and I can pop in some that I haven't used as well. That could go there. I haven't done a technique on, if you like. And pop on some lace. I mean, this piece here, that's beautiful, isn't it? The little tiny bit of embroidery, that would look lovely just going along there. And then some different laces as well. So let's pop that there. Just cut that bit off. Just like that. Then I'm going to come in with the different pieces that I've done technique wise. That's still drying, so I'm going to leave that one to one side. But I'm going to bring this in, so I love this. Let's move him over just a little bit and pop that there. Just like that. And I've got this lady that can sit here. It could be that you're printing your own fabric as well, and it's the people that your actual relations. So it could be a piece of embroidery that you've had that your great grandmother's done or something like that you can pop on. Then we've got this fabulous bag here of different buttons. So we could then pop a few buttons on. Let's have some different ones there. And I like to do them randomly. Just there, like that. There's a little light one there. So we've got some random buttons and a nice big one in the corner, like that. And then we can bring in, see how we've got this? This is from the vintage supplier as well that's on the craft store. So I can then pop that like that and then just play around. So it doesn't have to be on a box. I want something there. Let's take that just popping out here. So you've got lots of different layers, and all you're trying to achieve is something that's, you know, looks interesting. Now what I could do with this one is I could make a feature, if you like, of my sewing pieces here. So I've got some pink over there. So if, for instance, I took this thread, then I could thread up a needle, and then I could make over-exaggerated like crosses of cross-stitched across here like that if I wanted to. So I'm just going to lay that there just so that you get the idea. So that could actually go through. So thank you for joining me on my first Make It Monday with Tina, and I hope to see you next week. Let us have some feedback to see if you are really enjoying the shows. See you soon.